So here we are looking at the Jones Hovercraft, just to give you an idea of the camber profile and just the board. We've been riding this all year. It's not changed. It hasn't changed much from this year to 2015 either. Just a lighter core, I believe. But you know, a couple things they did is you can see they beveled up the sides here, so it's less catchy on the tail, which is a great idea. And you can see there's a decent amount of camber. It's not a very high camber. It's kind of a very mellow camber, but you can see it kind of ends about right here, and then goes a little bit past the bindings towards like the tail right around here. And so there is some camber here, and we've ridden this a lot, even though it's been a shitty year for powder. I've just taken this out on the groomers and had a blast just carving it up and riding around. And as you can see, it's got a little bit of that, I don't know what you call it these days, mellow magnet traction side cut. Let me try it from this side too, maybe you can get a better angle. But there are some bumps there that that you can see, especially in the middle. It kind of extends out right at the waist. You can also see there's a lot of rocker in the nose. But this is just as good a groomer board as it is a powder board. This really, like they market it, it's really not just a powder board. I almost have just as much fun on this as I do on the Jones flagship going out on morning groomers. This chop tail just doesn't feel that chopped. You know, after you ride, if you don't think about it, you just get in the board and you start riding it, you don't feel like there's so little tail behind you. It feels very stable. It doesn't feel very tapered. It has really good grip. It's really fun to carve. And then of course, if you got a powder day, I mean, it's great. This is just for, you know, truly directional surfy riders. And the best way I like to describe this board is saying it's a fish. It's just really like it rides close to a shortboard. It's a little more difficult to turn than a shortboard, but it still turns really well and really quick. And it sits on top of the water, just like, you know, like a fish sits on top of the water, just like this hovercraft sits on top of the snow. It really does feel like you're out on a fish. And if you're a surfer and you've ridden a fish on small days, you know, when you didn't want a longboard and you can't shortboard, you'll know exactly the feeling of this. And it does feel like a twin fin too, except the only thing is like in surfing, when it gets bigger, you kind of have to dump the fish or get like a different fin set up. When it gets deeper with this just gets better. So that's probably the only difference. But you know, the Jones Hovercraft is just, you know, one of our favorites and a great price point. And really, if you're somebody who lives for powder but also likes riding groomers and surfing groomers, then you know, carving it up, then the Hovercraft is a great choice.